Hello everybody and welcome back to another video on the channel. We are back again with the tips this week for the second to last time this season because we're into the preliminary finals, which means there are only 4 teams remaining. The 2 winners this week will book spots in the grand final. There's going to be 2 cracking games. There's a few interesting potential grand final matchups. Probably the most boring of them all is Sydney versus Geelong. Not for my sake because my team will be in it. But I think that'd probably be the most boring result for most neutral fans. Then there's the potential Sydney v Brisbane, all non-Victorian, and also Port Adelaide, Brisbane, all non-Victorian, and also a rematch of 2004, 20 years ago, which I did tip at the start of the year. So if Sydney don't win, but Port Adelaide and Brisbane get through, well, that'll be something. And then there's also a 2007 grand final rematch, potentially, with Geelong taking on Port Adelaide. That'll bring back a lot of PTSD for Port Adelaide fans, especially if they lose. But anyway, let's just get into the tips this week, starting off with the Friday night matchup, Sydney taking on Port Adelaide at the SCG. Obviously, it's well documented now, the record that Sydney have over Port Adelaide, have not beaten them since 2016. And the last time these 2 teams played off in round 21 of this season, Port Adelaide smashed us by 112 points. Now, I don't think that's going to happen again on Friday night. We were in a horrific form slump at that stage. The previous week honestly wasn't that much better. We lost by like 39 points to the Bulldogs, kicked a few junk time goals late. We were pretty terrible in that game. Not as bad as we were against Port Adelaide, but yeah, we weren't going very well at all back then. That game where we lost by 112 points, I don't think you can really take too much out of that in terms of how Port Adelaide beat us tactically or how we lost the game tactically, because we just didn't show up. There was no facet of that game where we were even close to level with Port Adelaide. It was just a terrible game all round from pretty much everyone on the team. And from that point on, we've played pretty well. We won our last 3 games of the home and away season, and then we beat GWS in a cracking matchup, who are now, of course, out of it. So we've been playing pretty well. I didn't really think our last 3 weeks of the home and away season were too convincing. However, the win against GWS was an absolutely very important win to have, not only because it was a final, but the way we won it. We came from behind. We didn't start the greatest, that's going to be a bit of concern going into this game. We can't keep doing that. Now that it's all sudden death games, we can't keep getting off to poor starts. But we came from behind, and we actually won a close one. The only other close game that we lost all season was against Collingwood. They had a bunch of injuries pretty much the entire way through the second half of the season, and I didn't think that was a very convincing performance. What we did against GWS, though, that was very convincing. Yeah, it was a fantastic win. We got the week off. Port Adelaide played off in a very taxing game. It was a very high-pressure game. I think they had laid 75 tackles, while Hawthorn laid 81 for the game. So a lot of tackles being laid in that game. There was a lot of big hits. Yeah, very physical the whole way through. So I'm hoping that they're going to be a bit banged up and bruised after that one. I'm also hoping Charlie Dixon gets up to play in this game because, yeah, he did not look very good at all in the first game against Geelong. Todd Marshall's gone out of this game, so they're going to have to replace him with somebody. It's either going to be Charlie Dixon or Ollie Lord. Last year, he showed some promise in the final series. I don't really know what's happened to him this year. Hopefully he doesn't come in and pull out a all-time special performance if he does play. I'm hoping Charlie Dixon gets up. Even though he kicked 3 goals against us in that game earlier in the season, a witch's hat, a traffic cone probably could have kicked 3 goals against us in that game. Not too concerned about that. Callum Mills is going to be out for this game. To be honest, I don't think that's a huge loss. I don't think he's played very well at all since he's come back in. Against GWS, he was probably one of our worst players. I honestly think that if we bring in Robbie Fox as a like-for-like type player, or if we shift it around and bring Taylor Adams back in, I don't think it's too much of a loss for us. I've heard some rumours about, or not rumours, but I've heard some talk about Kane Farrell potentially coming back into this game. It's Monday as I'm recording this, so I don't really know if that's a realistic shot or not. The only confirmed changes I know is that Callum Mills is going to be out, and also Todd Marshall. So now all that rambling's over and done with, I am going to be backing in my boys, the Swans, to win this one. Even though we've had a terrible record against Port Adelaide in recent times, I think that we are still the better team than them on paper. Isaac Heaney, Chad Warner, and Errol Goulden, I think that stacks up pretty well against their midfield. Port Adelaide's midfield is also very good, but I think that ours is definitely the best in the competition. Their key forwards versus our key backs, I'd probably back in. It's probably pretty 50-50. Mitch Georgiades looked good in the semi-final. I think he's a very talented player. Tom McCartan is our best key defender. I think that that'd be a pretty good matchup if those two play on each other. Lewis Melican and Dane Rampy, I'd probably back in over Charlie Dixon and whoever else they're going to play in that forward line. Asava Radaglia most probably, or if they pick Ollie Lord. I'd probably back in our key defenders just over their key forwards. Yeah, I think we'd match up against them well. I don't think that game earlier in the year would have scarred us too much. I imagine we probably just completely erased that games from our minds, the players did, because there was nothing to take out of that game. So hopefully they come into this game with a better mindset. Well, I know they will, because it's a preliminary final. But yeah, I am going to be tipping the Swans. I think that Port Adelaide's recent record in preliminary finals probably evens out our hoodoo that we've had against Port Adelaide, and I am going to be tipping the Swans to go through to the grand final. Now, the second game of the preliminary final weekends got Geelong taking on Brisbane. This is a rematch of the 2022 preliminary final, same venue, same teams. I don't think Geelong are as good as they were back then, and Brisbane, well, actually, they also finished 5th that year. I think they're a lot better now than what they were in 2022. So this will be an interesting matchup. Geelong, they looked absolutely clinical in the first week of finals. However, I still am not 100% convinced on them. I think they were a bit shaky coming into finals. And even though that week 1 game clearly showed that they're capable of winning this premiership, I'm not 100% sold on them. Brisbane looked gone for all money halfway through the third quarter, and they came from the clouds. That was one of the most remarkable comebacks I've ever seen. They got a bit lucky with a couple of things going their way. Brent Daniels playing on advantage, that would have sealed the game if he had have just held it up and Hogan or whoever got the free kick, slot it through. Then he also gave away a silly 50-metre penalty at one stage as well. So yeah, I think that the Lions did get a bit lucky there, but it was a remarkable comeback regardless. They'll have a lot of confidence coming into this game against Geelong, and I would seriously rate them as a chance to win this game. In fact, I'm going to be tipping an upset. I think that the Lions are capable. I think that Brisbane, well, if they weren't so inaccurate in their last few weeks, they would have finished second on the ladder. I think they're a better team than Geelong. The only thing is, this game is at the MCG. They have sort of resurrected their MCG form in the last couple of years they played. They've had a couple of decent wins, but it still is a bit of a concern playing at that venue for the Lions. That being said, they won a final back there at the MCG back in 2022. I think they should be able to do the same here. And they will book a ticket to the grand final, and that is going to be my tips for the preliminary final weekend in 2024. Hope you did enjoy the video. Comment down what your predictions were, what your predictions are, I should say, for the upcoming round. Let me know who you want to get through to the grand final. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you did enjoy this video. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.